If you dream of your motorcycle, if your day isn't complete without some time in the saddle, if all you need is the open road and a full tank of gas, well, you've come to the right place because this is Throttled, and it's starting now. Here's your host, Kevin McKinney.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Throttled. Thank you so much for tuning in. What we just kind of went shock and awe at our 240th episode. So glad you all decided to tune in. Those of you that are joining us live, welcome. Glad to have you here this evening. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we're going to go ahead and get to it. On the call tonight, let's see, any, meeny, miny, mo. We'll start with good old Larry. Larry, how you doing, my friend?
Yeah, good old Larry, emphasis on old.
I try to emphasize the good, you know.
Well, that's there too. In spite of the old, I am doing well, and it's been a really fun week, and it's amazing how fast the time is passing these days. So I'm hanging in there. I'm riding. I'm doing good. How about you, Chris?
I am doing well. Thank you very much. It's still pretty hot here. It's kind of going back and forth. Like it's been hot, like high 80s, low 90s, which for here, Long Island is hot, but humidity has not been too bad at times. So there's been a little riding, and I guess we'll get to that in a minute. Tom?
Same. Had a good weekend. Got 2 days of riding on two wheels, so I'll talk about that in a minute. My picture this week is bike number 2. So behind me is a 2008 Suzuki Bergman 650 Executive. So that
what was the last
little
one? The last one was a Bergman too, wasn't it?
Was a Bergman 400. That was my first ride. So this is graduated to the 650. I think I made this move, I don't know, maybe 6 months after owning the 400, something like that. But yeah, and also I passed I guess you could say a major milestone, but it was a milestone this weekend.
All right, well, we'll talk about that in just a minute. But good. See, that's a good lead in. We're teaching Tom good previewing tactics here. Good little teasers. But we're not alone, just the four of us. We have a fifth person on the call, and this is Brandon Farnsworth. Brandon, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on the show.
No problem. Now, Brandon is, we'll get to in a little bit about why he's here and some special things about him, but just a minute. But gentlemen, as always, we're going to start off every show by talking about the riding we've done this week. And since Tom, kind of put out the golden nugget of a milestone, we'll let him lead off.
Well, I'll talk about riding first. So yesterday, like I say, spent a couple days on two wheels. So yesterday was a nice e-bike ride of about 20 miles. And then today was a nice mountain ride on the GS, about 200 miles. Did my standard ride here in the southeast of Blood Mountain and Wolf Pen Gap and Highway 60. So that's a typical ride for me. Just trying to burn up some miles, and the reason is that my tires are near the end of life and got new shoes ready to go on Wednesday. Those are getting installed, so new set on the GS, so that'll be fun. The milestone was yesterday. I rolled into a new decade, so
for the bike or for you? For the bike
for me.
Or for you? Oh, cool.
No, I aged up.
There you go.
Congratulations. Welcome to the club.
So I guess now I can have more senior moments.
Yeah. Well, they will come.
So yeah, I rolled yesterday. Was rolled into the big 6-0.
Wow.
Oh, you're still just a kid.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. So like
Cheers.
I say, now I can have a senior crisis instead of a middle-age crisis.
Well, congrats, my friend. And hey, pulling that off and then hitting 200 miles in the mountains, that seems like a good way to celebrate.
It was a good weekend. Yep, and copious amounts of grape juice were drunk last night.
The fermented
The
kind.
fermented
I'm
kind?
sure it's fermented. All right. So who else here? Who else do we have?
Chris.
Chris, you did what kind of riding have you done last week?
Just this weekend actually, which was kind of nice. Been doing some evening rides. Gina and I got out Friday night. Rode to pick up some takeout dinner, some sushi. Brought that back home, which was kind of nice. Got down to the beach first, and then last night I went out, did one of my favorite loops up to the North Shore of Long Island. So that was really cool. And drum roll, please. We are now signed up to do the MSF dirt bike school.
Oh, really?
In about 3 weeks. Yeah, 3 weekends from now. So it's gonna be a busy August. Next weekend we're going to Pittsburgh for Motor America races, and then a week or so after that I've got California Superbike School, which will be really cool, and then this MSF course. So it should be really good. She's been wanting to do something to basically get a little more experience. Having a smaller bike and the opportunity to kind of toss it around a little bit and get the feel for a motorcycle that's not stuck on the pavement sliding around a little bit. So hopefully that will help her get a little more comfortable with her street riding.
I think that's a great idea. What kind of bikes do they use in the dirt bike school, and where is it?
I'm not sure yet. I believe it's Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. I forget the name of the school. I'll look it up in a moment. And I don't know the exact size bikes, but they have, a limited number of rental bikes available. So we figured we'd go that route. We just had to bring our own gear and whatever. But yeah, so looking forward to that. Should be a ton of fun.
Yeah, that should be. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to get my kids signed up for the one in Atlanta. They usually all for like a family thing, but you got to call them to reserve that. And I've tried to do it a couple times because I just want to take it with them. I mean, hey, let's go play on the dirt for a day on a bike. Okay. And I know it'd be kind of basic, but I think it'll be good fun for us all to get out there and do some things together. But yeah, I haven't been able to get them to call me back about that. So hopefully we can get that scheduled. All right. So we did Tom, we did Chris.
Who's
Larry,
left?
Larry and Brandon. So we're going to let Brandon for last since he's our guest. But Larry, what about you, man?
Well, like I was saying, the weeks are flying by now, and they've been really busy I've been busy with all sorts of things. But not to make any excuses, I did get out today actually, and like Tom, I've been doing the two-wheel thing. I ride not my electric bike mostly, but my regular bike. Every day, and then in the afternoon, if I have time, I get out on my motorcycle, and I did manage to do it today. And it was one of my typical rides. I went up to the parking lot, did some stuff there first, and then went out Lucas Valley and up Nicasio, and then around the Petaluma Point Reyes Road and back along San Antonio. It was, I don't know, it's about a 65, 70-mile ride. And the weather was just a crystalline day today, I thought. Weather was beautiful, and the riding was great. So I'm glad I got out and had a good time.
Awesome. Well, I also got out today. I did about 115 miles, I think. And the funny thing is the entire time it was, okay, I've got to be at a certain spot at 11:30. And so I just kind of started riding, and then I realized I'm where I need to be, and I got another hour and a half to kill. And so I just started, meandering around, and okay, so once I reach this time, I'll turn around. And that worked out pretty good. I got there about 5 minutes early. Went just all over, just basically any road that I knew had tree cover to keep the sun off of me, which at that point was comfortable if I could stay in the shade. It was actually a very comfortable day in the shade here while you were moving. Once you stopped, it became kind of yucky. But
how hot was it?
Oh, I'd have to go look it up. I mean, the heat index is probably around 100, I guess, today. We were, this was in the morning, right? so I rode all around and then met them for lunch. And I mean, I went back out towards where I used to live, roads that I used to ride all the time, like every week that I haven't been on in a year. So I went, kind of out a pretty good ways and then took a more direct route to meet them for lunch. And then we had to go to Walmart to try to do some shopping. And I realized that was probably the first time I had been in Walmart since all of this crap in the world started. And I didn't miss it, So, but for the most part, the riding was great. Had all my gear on, all my ADVD stuff. So I really was kind of pushing a little bit harder in some of the corners than normal. And just, one, because I think I knew the roads and I knew kind of where they went, and I knew which curves were, not really as sharp as the signage would make you believe. And, had a really good time. It was a really good ride today. I really needed it after the week I had. I had a really just long week. It was a good week at work, but a long week. And I just needed that wind therapy, and it delivered, aces today. So I really am set to begin the week tomorrow. But let's get to our special guest. Brandon, what about you? Have you been out doing any riding lately?
I have actually. Today I was a little bit further east of Larry. I went up to Lake Berryessa, which is about maybe 20 miles north of Napa. And then swing back around Sonoma. You can go through some mountain roads that way. Pretty good stuff. Amazing views. It was hot up there, but I left early trying to beat the heat, and I failed. But but it is what it is. So it was pretty good. Probably 150 miles round trip, give or take. Yeah, really, really good ride. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, they have some technical roads around Berryessa.
They do. I ride a Bonneville, so fortunately, my bike, it's within my zone for what I can handle. So the Bonneville will only let you go so fast, so it's good.
Well, talk about your Bonneville for a little bit. What do you have on it, and what have you done to it?
Well, I have a 2018 Triumph Bonneville T120 Black in the matte gray. I have a Luimoto seat on it, and then at Marin Speed Shop, I have they got a guy who put a gel insert in your factory seat for $100. So I added that, and it was worth its weight in gold as far as I'm concerned. I got the bar end mirrors. I'm not really sure why Triumph doesn't add those stock, but it is what it is. $250 later, there you have it. What else do I have on there? I have Burley brand luggage, which is basically, they make them for Harleys, but they have like a yoke throwover saddlebag that you can fit on pretty much any motorcycle as long as you got like a universal bracket. It just basically Velcros on. So really impressed with those. They've been really good to me. And then, yeah, that's about it. Oh, and I have Vance and Hines pipes as well that I got from Triumph. So threw those on there. Gives that parallel twin a little extra bite, which is nice. So
I have to say, I think Vance and Hines are my favorite third-party pipe manufacturer. I had some on my, I had a Yamaha 900 years ago, and the pipes were almost too loud, and but they really gave you that roll-on rumble that everybody wants. So.
Yeah, I should interrupt for a moment just to say that I asked Brendan to join us because I ran across Brendan's YouTube channel, and Brendan's a local guy. He lives in San Francisco, and he videos his rides in the area, and he talks about what's going on around the Northern California motorcycle scene. So I thought it would be good to bring Brendan in and see what he's about. So I wanted to ask you, Brendan, sort of when did you start riding, and how did you get into this whole scene?
Those are all good questions. The first one was easy. I started riding about maybe 8 years ago. I was living in New York City, and I always wanted to ride. And so, no better place to start your motorcycle journey than in New York City. So I bought a Suzuki Boulevard S40, which, if you're not familiar with it, it basically has a choke. There's no gas gauge, 650cc single cylinder engine. And I bought that in New Jersey, and then immediately hopped on the turnpike and rode it back to the city. And that was my first ever motorcycle ride outside of the safety course. So I'm still here, so I guess it worked out. But
Yeah.
and then from there, I had a Kawasaki Vulcan 900 Custom, and I had that for a few years. Really, really liked it. And then I'd always wanted a Bonneville, but the 900cc engine was just kind of, they've been doing it for a long time, and I was waiting for something a little beefier to come out. They came out with the 1200cc, and I basically, as soon as I got out to California, I went up to Marin and grabbed one. I knew the exact one I wanted. I went in and I was like, I want that one, and then, rest is history. I love it. It's a great bike. There's no other motorcycle I'd rather have. If I can only pick one, I'd like to have 5 or 6 different ones, but
So why? What drew you to that bike?
I like the aesthetic of it. I like the idea, and by the way, I'm like really into adventure motorcycling kind of stuff as well. The only thing I'm not really into is like the track stuff, and that's just me. So the Triumph Bonneville, I love the way it looked. I like the minimalist kind of feel for a motorcycle, but I'm not a mechanic, so I wanted something reliable. And like the T120 has like heated grips, and it's got a device charger and stuff like that. So it's got that modern tech that makes it a little bit easier because it's my daily commuter as well. So, I go across the Bay Bridge every single day for work. Well, not every day anymore, but every now and then since March. So, so I needed something that was reliable and that was going to be good to go and was comfortable, but I want something that looked good too and had plenty of power and that I could do touring trips on like I did today. So that was really what drew me to it. And I've always liked the Bonneville. So Triumph has a parallel twin, and I like the symmetrical look of the pipes that come out on either side, and everything's just very symmetrical, which always drew me to Triumphs in general. So yeah, that's not too complicated. That's just I don't know, I like the way they looked. So
Nice. Do you have cruise control on
No,
that?
there's no cruise control on the bike.
Okay.
Yeah.
If it had cruise control, you might have had me sold. Sounds like a great bike.
I know you can add it after the fact. I don't know. It's probably like a couple $100, but I know Triumph has that add-on you can do, but
Oh, nice. Okay.
I haven't needed to yet.
Yeah, speaking of Marin Speed Shop, Brendan, that's where I got my motorcycle. And my motorcycle, Brendan, is a Versus 650.
Nice. I like those.
Well, I'm egging you on a little bit because in one of your videos you talked about the Versus 650. I believe you were referring to it as kind of the plain vanilla kind of bike, and you preferred the kind of aesthetic of the Triumph over the plain Versus 650.
Well, that is true.
Something
but
like that. What?
I think I was alluding to the utilitarian nature of the Versus 650. It's great. It just I like something.
No, I don't
that...
know, Brendan. Exactly what are you trying to say?
It's all right, Brendan. You wouldn't be the first one to disparage the Versus 650 on this show.
I like the Versus 650. I think it's a great like commuting motorcycle. I just it is what it is. It's a good bike.
Good. Dig yourself out of that hole. I've been there.
I'll just sit in this hole. If you guys could fill it up with water and turn it into I'll be happier.
Yeah. Throw the guy on the hot seat first time on the show.
That's okay. That's what happens when you say something disparaging about a bike that a lot of people own.
Right. Well, I'm teasing you about it, but I understand what you're saying about it. It is there's nothing really dramatically exciting about the bike. It's just a kind of a do everything kind of bike, and it does it pretty well. And from my point of view, it really fulfills my needs, which was similar to yours, Brendan. I really wanted a bike that I could use on weekends to just ride on the roads and carve up some hills, and then throw on some bags and do some touring, which I like to do, and a bike that was easy to manage and economical, and the Versus fit all that. So it isn't the world's most exciting bike, but it actually is fun to ride. So if you haven't ridden one, you should try it sometime.
All right. I like riding anything, so I'm not that picky.
Yeah, it's actually kind of hard because there's been times where I've been and ridden bikes, and it was just like, how'd you like it? Well, I liked it, But then you're actually thinking about, well, I was just enjoying the ride. I really wasn't paying attention to the motorcycle. So I was like, do you mind if I take it again? And then you're actually trying to pay attention to, well, I don't like this. I don't like this. Because half the time it's just like, you're just riding the ride, which is a sign that it's a good bike, I think. But I mean, let's be honest. They don't really make bad motorcycles. They just might make some bikes are better at certain things we're looking for at that moment than others. And so,
agreed.
Well, let's switch gears a little bit. So Brendan, you have a YouTube channel called Dead Redwood.
Yeah.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Two things. First, where did the name come from? Second, what drew you to become a YouTuber? Because like me personally, I've got a helmet on the side of I got a camera on the side of one of my helmets, and I've gone out and I attempted to see what it would be like to do it, and they're the worst things ever, not worthy of anybody's time in the day. And so that video has been turned into, vapor, and the videos I do use are for my own educational enjoyment of, oh, wow, I really screwed that up. Or, hey, look what I actually did. I'm never going to try it again, but look what I actually did. And so what drew you to that, and where did the name come from?
Well, let me start with the name because that's probably easier to answer. So my wife and I went to Muir Woods, and you can buy little baby redwoods there. And you can bring them home and plant them. And we brought it home. We put it inside. We're like, hey, we live in San Francisco, so the climate's perfect for it. This will be great. We'll have a redwood tree. And it died. So because of neglect, probably, as well as, whatever, it shouldn't be inside because it's a redwood tree. So that's kind of where the inspiration for the name came from. It was like dead redwood, don't die inside. And that's kind of, for me, my favorite way to be outside is on a motorcycle because it's like being on a bike, but it requires almost no effort and it's a lot faster and you can see more stuff. So that's kind of where the inspiration came from. Nothing too in depth. It was just, we had something that shouldn't have been inside and it died. And I think people are that way. So.
Yeah, we have two redwoods that we got from Muir Woods, and they're growing and they're thriving nicely.
Did you keep them inside, or did you actually put them in the ground?
They're outside.
Oh, okay.
They're in pots outside.
There you go.
Otherwise, you would have had the two dead redwoods.
The question is did they go back to get a second one and actually keep it outside?
No, we didn't, because we live in an apartment, so we can't. And I've always loved redwood trees. I just think they're incredible. The way they, these things are so huge, but they grow like straight as an arrow, and it's just every single one of them is just pin straight. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, the redwood groves are kind of like a cathedral.
They are.
Redwood Grove. It's just humbling. Yeah,
they are. They're amazing. And then the inspiration for the YouTube channel was the next question, or why I got into it. The simplest answer is boredom. I was about to finish my grad degree, and so I was like, what am I going to do with my time? I don't know what I'm going to do. I want to do something productive. I watch a lot of motorcycle YouTube channels, but there's a lot of people who are doing, the maximum speed, passing people, doing crazy things, which isn't really my gig. And then the other side, there's a lot of people doing like the Harley Davidson thing where they're just loud pipes and they rebuild bikes, and both of those are fine if that's what you're into. But me, I just like to get on a motorcycle and I'll ride 100 miles to get a cup of coffee and then come back, and to me that's a fun day, especially if I can hit some canyons up. So I didn't see a lot of channels like that, or I mean they're probably out there, but I just couldn't find them. And then there's that, and then California is just beautiful, like Northern California. I mean, going from the redwoods to the Pacific Ocean, and then you can be in 10,000 foot mountains in 3 hours if you so choose. And it's so incredible. And I always like to, if I see something cool, I want to talk about it or take pictures of it and like tell people about it. My wife is the opposite, by the way, for whatever it's worth. She just wants to be quiet, enjoy it. So that clashes a little bit sometimes. So I thought, maybe the YouTube channel thing, and YouTube is really hard because you got to know how to video edit, and there's like audio, wind noise, and keeping people's attention and all this stuff. It's just difficult to do. And if you went back and looked at some of my early videos, they're just terrible. But trying to get better as I move forward and stuff like that. But that's really the inspiration for the channel. Just trying to give some people a channel where they can come in and have a relaxing cup of coffee or a beer or something and watch somebody else ride motorcycles, So hopefully it's that channel. If you're in Long Island, you watch it in the wintertime when you can't ride yourself. That's kind of the point, So
That's great. Yeah, I do. I was watching some of your videos when I was going to sleep, and they really put me in a good frame of mind to go to sleep. So thanks, Brendan.
They
I
put you
don't
to
know if
sleep,
that's
Larry, or
exactly
when you were
how I
going
would
to
explain
sleep?
that.
No, no.
You're like, yeah, I use your videos to fall asleep to.
hey, I don't care.
really-
Whatever
It's
gets
a
you
glowing
watching.
endorsement. Yeah.
That's not what I meant.
Brandon's just like whatever
That's
is a
for
view,
the-
a views of
that's
you, man.
That's for the Kawasaki Versus dig I had in one of my videos. I get it.
It shows I'm watching again. That's what counts, Brendan.
Yep.
So what's your setup like? You GoPro?
Yeah, I have a GoPro Hero 7, and I actually have two GoPros. Today's video that I shot that'll come out, hopefully I can get it all edited and released tomorrow night. But I got a second GoPro, and it basically goes on my handlebars and it faces me, and it just helps you to kind of break up the monotony of just looking at the handlebars the whole time, which I actually personally really like, just looking at the handlebars because I feel like I'm on the bike, but trying to mix it up a little bit, just give people something else to focus on. So I have two GoPros. I have a purple Panda microphone that I wired to go inside my helmet, and then I actually roll up a beer koozie and stick it between the pads on I have a Shoei RF 1200, and that blocks the wind noise from coming up underneath, because if you're trying to talk and there's wind noise coming in, it's difficult to edit it out after the fact. So that's also why you can't really hear my pipes, but I think people would rather not hear wind noise than hear that. So that's pretty much the setup. And I have a drone too, which I actually flew that around today, and that gets some really great shots, and that just helps with some transitions and stuff. And you can just get a perspective of, you can ride all day and look at the roads, but you stop on the side of the road and you put a drone 400 feet in the air and you spin it around Lake Berryessa. It gives it's a nice different perspective. So
Cool.
Yeah.
Does the drone follow you around, or you just get off the bike and shoot some aerial stuff?
It will follow me, but there's so many giant trees here in California, and then if if I go between a tree and it loses signal, it'll get confused. So I haven't actually done that yet, but it will do it. But
that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, I saw the video that you did of Lake Berryessa, and it really actually makes me want to ride back up there. I rode up there a lot, but it's been a number of years since I've been there.
It's a fantastic ride. It's one of my favorite spots. It's hot. It definitely does get hot this time of year, but it's nice canyon sweepers. The roads are in pretty good condition, and then when you go back, if you cut east and go towards like Sonoma, you can go through the mountains too, which are some rougher, twistier roads, but still really, really cool.
All right. Yeah.
All
great.
right. Cool. Well, you got any other questions for him, or do you want to continue on with some news?
Anything else you want to add, Brendan? About you've got a Facebook page. You've got an Instagram.
I do. I have all of those. Are all Dead Redwood. The name wasn't taken. Couldn't believe it. But so you can find me in any of those. YouTube is where I focus most of my attention. So it's easy to hit me up on there. You can drop a comment, and if anyone's listening, or if you guys do it too, if you leave a comment and you want me to go look at something in San Francisco, I'll do it. We had a guy the other day. He used to live in San Francisco, and he retired and moved to Kansas. And he was like, "Hey, I used to live in San Francisco. Can you do a ride and do Lombard Street?" So I was like, "Sure, no problem." So
That's cool.
I'm going to do that this week too. So if there's something you want to sightsee that you can't do, or you want me to do it, just hit me up in the comments, and I'll go film it for you.
Awesome.
That's great. Yeah.
Well, listen, if you guys are out there and you watch this channel, give them a subscribe, hit that notification button. Same thing we do here. If you're interested in the live stream, you pick it up afterwards. Because these videos are out there for review later. Go ahead and subscribe. Both Dead Redwood and us would appreciate it, and look forward to that. And drop them a comment. Let them know that you heard us here. That way, talking to these four crazy guys wasn't the worst thing he did on his Sunday evening. So, but Brennan, I'd love you to hang around and continue to just kind of chat about the news that we're going to talk about and stuff like that. Are you interested?
Yeah, for sure. I got to step out and grab my charger real quick, but I will be back and I will be part of it.
Awesome. Well, we'll go ahead and dive into it. All right. Well, first up, let's see. We've got some Harley Davidson news, which that's
shocker.
It's another week, another Harley
Shocking.
story, right?
Yeah. How about that?
And we're going to start with where I think we left off with the other day, talking about Sturgis. And what Harley has decided to do is to donate their Sturgis space that is normally on the Lozelle Street. And they're going to provide free Harley Davidson bike parking. So I think it's only Harley Davidson bikes will get free parking there, and they're not going to have their demo days or their demo trucks there. What they're saying is hey, you can experience a test ride at any Harley Davidson dealership because they're, doing things in accordance to local health and safety guidelines. But I think just basically because of the social distancing and the way things happen, they're not bringing their trucks to the Black Hills area, which I can understand. So a good move, I believe. We would all agree on that one.
Yeah, I think it's a sensible move. It might partly be cost savings also. Why send a crew and trucks and whatever there if you can say, hey, we'll make it available for motorcycle parking.
Yeah, and I think what they're doing is they're diverting the trucks to surrounding Harley Davidson dealerships instead of having them all there in Sturgis.
But yeah, that makes sense. Right? Each dealership is going to know, what's the kind of the rules and what's accepted in their area. So yeah, makes sense.
Yeah,
so
that was funny. Where the one of the trucks is heading to Coralville, Iowa. It's basically a suburb of Iowa City where my son lives. So I know exactly where that Harley dealer is. I've passed it several times.
Well, we talked last week about whether it was a good idea to have the Sturgis events in the first place, and I don't know. I think that the fact that Harley is not showing up at Sturgis is kind of a tacit acknowledgement that this is not the time to be introducing a lot of people and demo trucks and bikes into the Sturgis event. Personally.
Yeah. What do you think about this?
I would agree. Probably.
Brandon? Is he back?
Sorry, I am back. I missed the first part of the conversation though. So
okay. So, to recap, Harley has not taken their demo trucks to Sturgis, and we were saying that that's probably a smart thing to do, given this. I personally wouldn't want to go climb on a bike after somebody else has just been on it. Without completely detoxing it, and that kind of takes some of the thrill out of it.
Yeah, I agree. I think, Harley is synonymous with Sturgis and vice versa. So I think Harley taking the lead and doing the right thing probably in this situation. Hopefully other people will take the lead and not put people in danger. So I think it's probably the right call in this environment.
All right, cool. Let's move on to the next. I get tired of always having a ton of Harley stuff in the news, but it seems to be what seems to be happening. All right, so Harley Davidson reports a loss. No duh. Every single company in the world almost is, except for hand sanitizer and mask people and toilet paper people. So putting that aside, they've started dropping hints or actually they've come out and said it. They're going to be killing some bikes, most likely. The one that people have as the biggest target on its back is the Bronx Street Fighter, which honestly, I know a lot of people were excited about that bike because it's the kind of bike they've wanted Harley to release. I mean, this goes back to what we said at the beginning when Zeitz took over. We're worried that they're going to be going the wrong way and they're going to be getting rid of bikes that will bring them customers that will be with them for longer. And I just don't think this is a good move. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a guy behind a microphone on Sunday nights. So what do you guys think?
Yeah, Tom, you introduced the article. What's your take on this?
So wait, which one did you say? Sorry.
This is the one about Harley and announcing that they're going to be holding off.
Well, I
on
thought
the
it was
Bronx.
interesting. Yeah, because they did their call this week, their shareholders call, and they were hitting up the new CEO quite a bit as to, all right, explain what's going on. So they're going to cut the models back by 30% or so. And the emphasis is going to be turning Harley into a premium and sought after brand. It sounds like the Pan American is coming out, but he was non-committal on the Bronx, so that may or may not happen, even though it appears that they're based off the same engine. Just maybe not a direction they want to go right now.
Yeah, I think
the same thing on the small Chinese bike, the 350. He was kind of non-committal on that one as well. But I've seen another article saying that one is moving forward.
Well, all they're doing is badging it. I mean, they're not doing anything special with that bike. It's
Somebody
else is making the
Chinese,
bike.
Benelli's getting it as a 310 or something like that, and Harley's getting it as a 350, but it's made by some Chinese company.
Chris, Larry, anything else to add? Brandon?
Well, I would say that it is kind of discouraging from my point of view. I think that maybe Levitech was talking about having 100 new models in 10 years or something like that, and that might be excessive given the current situation. But he was also emphasizing the need to reach out to new riders, get new riders in, and to have bikes that the new and younger riders would find appealing and affordable. And that seems to be changing now with their emphasis on their premium status and limiting the number of bikes that they have available, as well as the types of bikes. There's a real possibility they might even kill the Bronx, not produce it. So that would then make the adventure bike kind of this singular bike in the Harley lineup, which is otherwise all cruisers, and then they have one ADV bike. It's going to stand out kind of like the
Buell.
like Buell did before, exactly.
Yeah, they've had a great track record with that before. Yeah.
Yeah. So MV Augusta, I think they bought, and also they sold, and they didn't really support it. So I think that to me is discouraging. If they only have one different bike in their lineup, it's likely not to get much support from the dealerships. And
so what did you guys think that one of the things that came out was that they are going to kind of scale back their marketing and their footprint in which they're going to sell bikes to about 50 markets. They didn't name what those 50 markets were, but certainly North America and Europe may be an emphasis. But they're going to kind of just, everything sounds like I'm going to make a smaller company out of Harley.
I mean, I think that's exactly what he's trying to do, basically circle the wagons, right? Where do we know that we're our strongest? Let's focus there. We're doubling down. And they're just trying to get their feet back from underneath them. All right. Get profits going in the right direction, and, streamlining the bike. And I would expect to see some perennial models cut back as well. I know maybe not this year, but next year I would expect to see hey, they didn't actually come out with this special limited super duper version of this one like they normally have, right? So, you know, they may cut out or a middle tier model or something. You guys were talking about like the Pan America and everything. I think one of the reasons that one is really going to hit is because it's so far along and I think really on the cusp of the original plan to have it released. You know, I wouldn't, you know, parts are probably already being made and ordered, and marketing budgets have already been, you know, established, and they're working on those. So that one, I see it being further along. The Bronx, you know, I'm thinking if it doesn't go away, it'll stay in the back pocket. I really just see them killing it, which is really sad. Because I was actually excited to try to ride that one, and as well as the Pan America. So we'll see how those go. But if you look at it, the ADV market is still worldwide one of the, if not the fastest growing market in motorcycling right now. A lot of people are realizing, a lot of people are trading in their Harleys to get something that's a little bit more ergonomic, get them off the ground, get something that can do everything their Harley could do and is lighter. You know, they're more of a standing position when they've stopped and able to stretch out more. And it's honestly a little bit more robust. So, you know, with that said, I have a feeling they're trying to, you know, keep the people that say, I hate to get rid of my Harley, but this is the right move for me, to say, well, you can just get this other one. And that way they'll keep customers around longer, but they're still, I think, really advertising to the over 50 crowd there. And they've got nearly nothing to bring in the under 40 crowd.
Well, you know, talking about the under 40 crowd, Brendan, what does Harley mean to you? How do you view the company and what's happening with it?
Well, I mean, for me personally, my family rides Harleys, and I've always ridden Harleys. So when I think motorcycle from growing up, that's what I picture. But I think that Harley has struggled to connect with younger riders who don't maybe appreciate or know or understand the history of Harley Davidson the way that like our parents do and our grandparents do. And I think Harleys, I suspect, and I have no evidence to back this up whatsoever, but I suspect with some of their models that they were attempting to connect with the younger crowd. I suspect those focus groups probably didn't go the way that they think that they would. And so, as you guys mentioned, they probably decided, hey, look, this isn't working. We're spending a bunch of money trying to do this. Let's double down to our base and try to make this an aspirational brand that you move up to. You know, maybe this is your second or third motorcycle, right? So maybe you're not targeting the over 50 crowd, you know, but you're targeting people who are coming into being in their, you know, their 40s and 50s and be like, hey, you know what, I've always wanted? A Harley. Now I can afford it, you know, whatever reason. And then you go from there. So yeah, I suspect their focus groups probably didn't connect the way that they wanted it to.
Well, you said that your family always rode Harleys, and yet you're on a Triumph.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to go with one I wanted to go with the older company, the older brand. So Harley's 1903, Triumph is 1902, so they got me there. No, I just Harley. It was, you know, they were just really expensive when I was looking at them. And granted, the Triumph T120, it could have gotten a comparable Harley for sure, but it was actually the ergonomics of it. When I ride a cruiser, and I had a Kawasaki Vulcan, which is it's a cruiser, not a Harley, but it's the same seating position. After an hour or so, my back would just be killing me. And that was a really comfortable cruiser. So when I sit on an upright motorcycle like the Bonneville, I can ride for hours. And you can lean into the turns a little bit more too. It's just the actual riding experience on a Harley is a little bit limited in the traditional cruiser. It's just a little bit limited. So
yeah, it's actually interesting you mentioned that. I mean, I still have the Vulcan S, Kawasaki Vulcan S that I started on, but same thing. I upgraded to the Z900 RS, which is very much the same format as the T120. You know, it's kind of standard upright riding position, and I like it better for exactly the reasons you mentioned. You know, it's more comfortable. It's better for longer distances. You know, you can ride it sportier, you know, and carve in turns and stuff like that. So,
yeah.
So I'll go out on a limb. Say, you know, all of these moves point towards making Harley a smaller, more profitable, and aspirational product company. I'm going to say within 5 years, they're going to be acquired.
I hope
By
not.
who? By who?
I
MB
hope
Fighting
not.
Augusta?
right for it. That's no. I think they're going to. Someone's
Chinese?
going to buy them. And I would say either a Indian or a Chinese company.
Chinese company. I was just
That
gonna say
actually
that.
is that is an interesting point. I could see
So
that
I'll
happening.
say
And
within
that would
5
be
years,
the
that's
that
gonna
would be
happen.
the death knell for that company, because everybody remembers what happened last time they were sold.
Yeah.
And then if you take it outside the USA, which I mean, a huge part of market Harley's dealership things is this is an American bike. So when you're in the US sales would just Indian would
Yes,
gain a lot
US
of
sales.
customers. I'll say that.
Well,
was
it
there-
just feels these are all the right moves.
Yeah. Was there any discussion about the live wire?
no.
No, not really.
Fate of that is.
Yeah, I mean, it's a current model, and Zeitz was big on bringing that one to fruition in the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, that was one of his pet projects when he was kind of consulting and helping out, and I forget his previous role. But so, that was one of his things. So I have a feeling that's not going anywhere. And, I'm surprised it took the form that it did, knowing where he's going with the company now. But,
Yeah. Actually, an interesting bit of trivia. Gene and I the other night were watching the Avengers: Age of Ultron, or whatever
Yeah.
the title is.
Yeah.
Which is a 2015 movie, and has the live wire in it,
Right.
yeah.
which is kind of interesting. So I didn't realize they had a working prototype that far back. I mean, we've been talking about.
Oh,
it, what,
yeah,
the
that's-
Yeah.
last
Yeah.
two
I mean,
years
I
or so?
think
Yeah.
all the Avengers movies, almost all the Marvel movies, almost have a Harley Davidson featured. Captain America almost always is riding a Harley Davidson,
That would make
or if he's not, Black Widow is.
Mhm.
So if you go back and look, they're usually Harleys. It's not standing out. They're not the bright orange and black. They're subtle gray black paint and stuff like that, or maybe just a little badging here and there. But there's a lot of Harleys in there. And the Harley paid a lot of money for that too. All right, so I'm tired of talking about Harley. So screw the rest of these articles. We're going to talk about KTM. Switching gears a little bit. KTM has come out and announced some earnings, and they, what do you guys think of these? So we've got, if I scroll to the right spot, I had a marker. Hopefully it's in the right spot. Actual sales changed is a 33% drop, not 8%, which is earlier.
yeah,
Did I read that right?
Yeah. So according to Jensen Beeler, he in his story on this, he says that KTM was including their electric bikes in their sales figures, and he thinks those should be broken out. Now, it's not clear what he's referring to when it says e-bikes. Are those electric motorcycles or are those electric bicycles? But at any rate,
Well, Gas has a lot of electric motorcycles.
mhm,
I mean, like a lot,
right.
which I always thought was funny because the name's Gas. Well, it's actually, is it Gas or is it another brand that has electric? I can't remember.
No, I think it may be gas because I don't think KTM does, but they are including large numbers of electric motorcycles or electric bikes in their sales figures, and that is what's pumping up their profit margin. Without the sale of electric bikes, their figures are much less impressive, and are similar to the dismal figures that other manufacturers have been posting lately.
Yeah, I mean, look, if anybody gets shocked that manufacturers are losing money right now, I don't know where you've been, right? I mean, nobody's doing anything. Nobody's spending a ton of money because of the time. And so to have any sales, I think is great. Not to mention the extra cost of everything that's happening in the world. It just, I don't know if anybody's actually going to make any money this year, except for some other companies. But in the motorcycle world, you'd be hard pressed, to find that, because people are uncertain, and at certain times people don't go spend, $10, $12 to $40,000 for motorcycles, which is the range of a lot of these bikes that we're talking about. So I'm not, I look at sales numbers as okay, good to know, moving on. It's not something to really, I think, get stuck on, just because, they included these, and so that fudges their numbers. So we do know that the kind of bikes that have been sold are more dirt bikes, small electric motorcycles, small things to kind of do around rural, off-road areas, and not stuff for the street. We know that the dirt and the, honestly, because you couldn't get them plated until recently. So, makes more sense.
I think the gist of it was not that they lost money. I think that's a given, as you say, this year, everybody's going to put up terrible numbers. I think it was that they tried to fudge the numbers a bit and make it look like, from an investment standpoint, they were only down a few percent, where if you started peeling back the onion, no, they had a significant drop in sales figures. So I think that was the idea, is that they just kind of started loading things up to make the numbers look better than what they were.
Well, I mean, like every other manufacturer out there, I mean, Harley's buying back stock. Indian doesn't really separate out their motorcycle numbers from other, sport, categories,
right?
Or Polaris, excuse me, not Indian necessarily. They all have their tricks. Brendan, what do you think about this?
I, along the vein of KTM covering up their losses, I mean, like you guys said, everybody's doing it. Personally, it's whenever a company shows a sign that their loyalty is to the shareholders more so than it is necessarily to the consumer, it bothers me a little bit. But 100% of them do it, so it's just something we got to deal with. But yeah, not surprised that they're taking a huge loss. I mean, it's like Muhammad Ali on the ropes right now, right? It's just survive.
Yeah.
So,
but on the other hand, KTM is also looking to make an aggressive move. They're planning to bring their 200cc bike to the USA, and this is a full size bike, so it's not like a monkey or a small wheeled bike, and that to me seems like kind of an aggressive move on KTM's part, because they already have their 390 in the market. But now they're bringing a 200cc bike that they've sold in the Asian market, but now they're bringing it here.
So first off, I want to applaud with a little golf clap Larry's smooth transition into the KTM 200 Duke to move us forward and seamlessly do that. Good job.
That's what being a pro is all about.
Yeah. Are we pros? Because I sure am not getting the paycheck for it. But one thing to talk about is, we've already got the 390 Duke, which honestly has been a big success here in the States, is the 390. A lot of people like that little bike. And they're like, hey, 200 cc's, here you go. And it definitely has, a lot to offer, I think, for a lot of people. I mean, if you're wanting something to kind of zip around town, this would, I mean, if I look at this bike and I'm like, man, I wouldn't mind that to commute on. I really wouldn't, because I could commute, and when in the very limited amount of time that I need high speed, I could do it for that little amount of time, and then I'm sitting on surface streets. It's nice and nimble, and here's the thing. What is it coming? It's coming in at $4,000.
Yeah, under $4,000.
Yeah.
All right.
So if you're looking for a in-town runabout, and like you say, a commuter and such, why would you go to a bike like this and not a scooter, which is infinitely more practical and easier to ride?
So I think one reason is that the idea of this bike is to appeal to beginning riders, people who are interested in riding a motorcycle, but are intimidated by larger bikes. It's a light bike. It's got a lower seat height for KTM. That is
31 inches, though, I think.
31.6 inches, but that's an inch lower than the 390. And I have sat on a 390, and I can't plant my feet on the 390.
Yeah.
So
I'm telling you, man, they make insoles for your shoes that are like that thick. It'll solve a lot of your problems.
I'm still gonna say, if you're down in this range, I think a scooter is a better option than a bike that small.
Well,
especially as a runabout and grocery getter and commuter, it's infinitely more practical.
Yeah, but
My opinion.
I didn't say it's a grocery getter and everything. This is I need to get from one place to another place, and I'm going to leave that place and come straight back here. I don't need to take anything other than what I'm wearing. So, and it's small, zippy. You could do, these kind of small bikes are very maneuverable. And I know a lot of scooters are too. I'm not trying to disparage them at all. I'm just saying that it appeals, and there's us old stubborn people like myself that this appeals to me more than a scooter does. It's just this is what I would choose if I had this and the scooter side by side. I'm going to go this route just because that is what appeals to me more. And could it be slightly small for the American market? Maybe, but I think it's got its place in a lot of urban settings. I know how many Groms and Suzuki, what is it, Kawasaki 125s, Z125s are around. I saw two of those. I couldn't tell which is which because everybody mods them so much that I had to stop and really be able to look at it when it's not moving. But I saw at least two of those today on my ride. And honestly, it was almost comical the size of people on the things, right? It's just like, hey, so that's interesting because it looked like it was way too small for them, but they were out riding and having a great time. And so, I also think for the beginner bike area, the price is right. It's a motorcycle, quote unquote motorcycle, not a scooter, which a lot of people get hung up on that. Nobody here on the show, but a lot of people do. And it's just something that rings out to them.
Well, I think it's a bike that's aimed for beginners who want to ride motorcycles. You're right, Tom. I think if you want a commuting bike that's practical, a scooter is a good way to go. But I think if you're interested in getting into motorcycling and you want a small, easy to ride, inexpensive, quality bike, this might appeal. What do you think, Brendan?
I love this thing. I have just had it up and looking at it and the specs and everything like that. And I think the arguments for scooters are definitely valid. And by the way, I love riding scooters. They have those electric ones in San Francisco, and I usually, when we could play softball, I would take those and ride them all over the city. Anyways, I digress. I think this is awesome. I think there's a big market out there for urban commuting motorcycles. What's nice about this is it looks like a motorcycle.
Yes.
It's got that cool Street Fighter look, especially if you get it in the all white, because KTM has that sort of dirt bike orange look. But if you get it in the all white, it's got a cool Street Fighter look. It's cheap. It's got 26 horsepower, so you could do short stints. The thing probably does 70 miles an hour, so you could do, moderate or really, really mild highway type stuff, and I think you'd be fine with it. I think this is great. I couldn't find the weight on it, but I'm assuming it's probably around that 350.
305 pounds, I think. Yeah.
So for a beginner rider, the things I look at are seat height, weight, and if it has ABS brakes or not. So a 300-pound motorcycle is nothing. I think it's a good move on their part. I think urban commuting bike is gonna make a jump here in the next few years. So I think a 200cc is perfect. I'm a fan.
There you go. KTM, are you listening?
All righty. So let's so Brendan, at the end of every show, I turn over the reins to Chris and Larry. And honestly, it's the favorite part of the show for a lot of listeners, because Larry's well educated and
Blow by blow.
just perfectly tonal voice, delivers the news in the paddock of or kind of our racing segment very well. But before we get to the paddock, we're going to make sure we don't forget to mention our friends over in the Throttle crew and our supporters on Patreon. We really appreciate everything that our Throttle crew members do. Thank you all very much. If you would like to become a member, go to our website, throttledpodcast.com, scroll to the bottom, click on that Patreon logo, and we can get you signed up there. And we would really appreciate anything you can help with the show. Helps get the lights on and the voices flowing around here. We don't get big people and stars like Larry to come on for nothing, people. So it takes a little bit of cheddar. Okay. Anyway, so if you would like to help out, we'd really appreciate your support, and we'll hopefully see you and talk to you in the Throttle crew. All right. Now let's
mucho cheddar.
Get back to it. Oh yeah. We all are rolling in it. I wish. Anyway, so the paddock, gentlemen. Who's going first?
Chris, I think you have some racing to report on.
Sure. Shall I hit that?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So so this weekend was Motor America Racing at Road Atlanta. I unfortunately have not gotten to watch all the races yet. I've got a lot of Live Plus to catch up on during the week. But
what have you been doing?
Hit some of the highlights. Oh, I don't know, riding motorcycles, working around the house, doing various
priorities,
things.
man. Come on, get them in shape.
And actually, honestly, they finally got it sorted out, but there was kind of some glitches with Live Plus here and there, like Friday and then a little bit yesterday. But they seem to have gotten it sorted out. But anyway, whatever. It's definitely a good package. It's well worthwhile. And actually, interestingly, Rich Warfield from Loud Pipes was down there with his son. So I believe they were going to do an episode together about the races. So Loud Pipes listeners, you can be on the lookout for that when they publish that episode. But yeah, it was kind of interesting. Overall, the weather was good for the racing. There was a bit of rain, actually really heavy rain towards Friday afternoon, like after lunch to later afternoon. So that kind of messed things up a little bit. They had actually, I believe, started Superbike qualifying, the qualifying practice number 1 in the rain, in the dry, and a couple guys had got out, set fast lap times, and then it started raining like crazy. And a bunch of guys were just like, well, we're not going to bother to go out. There's just no sense in, risking crashing the bike or something, given that the guys that were out in the dry were going to have the better lap times. So that kind of put a kibosh on things until Saturday, but then the weather cleared up, and so things were really good. It was hot Saturday and Sunday. The racers were definitely dealing with that. It actually was kind of interesting. Kyle Wyman at his paddock setup, they had shown it on TV. They interviewed him. He had like this little tub that he bought off of Amazon or something. I guess he had full of ice or cold water or whatever. So he was actually being interviewed from like this little cold water tub that he was using to keep cool in between activities and stuff at the track. But it was a lot of good racing. I could kind of give some highlights for Superbikes and Super Sport. So in Super Sport, there's kind of been a battling back and forth between Richard Escalante and Sean Dillon Kelly, who rides the Suzuki. In Super Sport race number 1, it was really, really good racing just to watch them kind of duking it out in the last couple laps of the race. And actually, they ended up coming up. They were starting to lap traffic. They had a lot of wheel-to-wheel. In race 1, Sean Dillon Kelly eventually, he was the one that actually took the checkered flag first, and unfortunately Nolan Lampkin had a big wreck. I think it was a big high side, which he had some injuries, a lot of soreness and whatever that he was dealing with in the race number 2 the next day. But so in Super Sport race 1, so it was Sean Dillon Kelly took the win, Richie Escalante took second, Brandon Posh in third, Kevin Almeida in fourth, Jason Aguilar in fifth. But what's really interesting is it went Suzuki, Kawasaki, Yamaha, Suzuki, Yamaha. So it's really cool to see kind of, all the major manufacturers up there. Actually, in this case, that's the only manufacturers racing in Super Sport. So it's kind of cool to see them, all up on the podium. It's definitely good for the fans and whatnot. And then race number 2, which was today, was Richie Escalante took the win. followed by Sean Dillon Kelly, Brandon Posh, Jason Aguilar, and Kevin Olmeda. And so in the standings now in Supersport, it's Richie Escalante with 145 points in the championship. Sean Dillon Kelly is behind, 40 points behind. So that's like a race and a half, basically, that he's got to make up, to make that gap, followed by Brandon Posh, Jason Aguilar, and Nate Minster. Who actually is racing with N2 Racing, which is part of the N2 Track Days organization, which is kind of cool. I actually just interviewed those guys recently on my podcast, so that episode will be coming out. And then as far as Superbike, our buddy Cameron Bobier is killing it again, which is probably no surprise. The last race weekend, I think it was race number 2, he ended up crashing, which obviously cost him points in the championship. But race 1 was interesting. Unfortunately, Kyle Wyman had some difficulties. I didn't see it yet. I heard he crashed in practice. I think that was on Friday. It sounds like the bike did not get damaged as badly as the prior race weekend, so they were able to get that back together quickly. But somehow, I don't know, because of the crash or just something else, just the heat down in hot Atlanta, they ended up with overheating issues, and he actually did not finish Superbike race number 1. But what was interesting was towards the end of the race, the last bunch of laps, Cameron Bobier was lapping riders. He lapped like 8 riders before he he finished the race. Yeah, so that was interesting. He was hauling the beans, as they say. So race number 1 was Bobier, Jake Gagne, his teammate, Matthew Schultz. So it was all Yamahas up on the podium. Tony Elias was 4th, which is good because he's had kind of a run of bad luck for the last couple of race rounds. Bobby Fong in 5th, David Anthony in 6th. So Yamahas and Suzukis, no Kawasaki's until 7th and 8th. Superbike race number 2 again was Bobier and Jake Gagne. So those guys are killing it on the Yamahas. Matthew Schultz in 3rd. So you got kind of a repetition there. There's kind of a pattern forming. Bobby Fong in 4th, Tony Elias in 5th. Kyle Wyman finished the race, which is great, and pulled off a 6th. So that definitely helps for the points. And then as far as the championship, so Bobier is in the lead, 125 points. Jake Gagne, his teammate, behind, 106. Bobby Fong at 82, Matthew Schultz 76, and Kyle Wyman's up in 5th, which is really cool, 66 points. Josh Herron, who's riding the BMW for Shabby Racing this season, is actually 6th in the championship. He did not finish. Yeah, he also was out. I'm not sure why. Superbike race 1, he was out. So I have to research and find out. But so that's kind of what's going on in the world of Moto America. There were fans at this one, so it looked like everybody had a good time. And the next one coming up is next weekend in Pittsburgh. So Gina and I will be there. Just have to double check and make sure that Pennsylvania is still on the okay to travel to state as far as New York is concerned. But assuming all goes smoothly, I'll be able to report back on that.
Where were those races held, Chris? The ones you were just talking about?
Atlanta.
Oh, Atlanta.
Yeah. Road Atlanta. Yep.
Oh, great. Well, great.
So, Larry, over to you.
Well, thank you. So there isn't. I don't have actual racing to report this week. Something that crossed my desk that I think is of interest is that Royal Enfield announced that they are going to be introducing a flat tracker to race in the Production Twins class in the AFT races. And I thought this was kind of interesting. It's another big brand that's kind of inserting themselves into AFT, and I think that's all to the good. And they apparently approached SNS, the engine company that is associated so closely with Harley, but actually the last year has been contracting with Indian to help work on their engines. And so when Royal Enfield approached SNS, they said that they politely declined because of their conflict of interest, but they pointed him to a guy, Johnny Lewis, who is a flat tracker, has his own school, and knows how to build high-performance bikes for flat track. And he agreed to do some races for them and help them in the production of their bike. And they are coming out with a flat tracker. And it's interestingly, they have two kind of bikes that they're introducing. One is a flat track bike that will be racing, as I say, in the Production Twins class, mostly in the half-mile races. The mile tracks are a bit too fast for this bike, but they're going to introduce them in the half-mile races, and they're also introducing a kit for the Himalayan to convert the Himalayan into a flat track kind of training bike. And although this kit is not yet available commercially, they're talking about the possibility. It won't be cheap, but it would be something that you could modify a Himalayan to a flat track bike and then use it for training purposes. So it seems like Royal Enfield is very interested in increasing their visibility in the States, and this seems like a pretty good way to do that. So that's the news for American flat track. And then in terms of MotoGP, well, the news was not unexpected. They announced that they are indeed not going to be going overseas from Europe this year, that all of the races will be held in Europe. And so we know that Austin's been canceled, and then the Far East race venues are also not going to be used this year. However, there is the possibility, they mentioned the possibility of adding a race on to make up for the losses, and there's a possibility that this race could be the last race of the season on a Portimao circuit in Portugal. And this is a motorcycle venue that's used, I think, for World Superbike, so it's a well-known, well-suited track, and it seems pretty feasible for them to add this in to extend the season a little bit and make up for the losses of the other tracks. So that's the news from MotoGP from this week. Next week we'll I think resume racing, so I'll have something to report on. Brendan, do you follow the racing circuits at all?
I don't honestly, but that all sounded very interesting.
Yeah, well, I think both MotoGP, Moto America, and Superbike, World Superbike are really exciting races to watch. I find it more fun than watching car races because positions change more easily. You know, the bikes are smaller. The tracks are almost the same size, or the same tracks that they use for road racing cars. So the speed is comparable, and the racing I find more exciting. So it's fun to watch from that point of view. So anyway, there you have it, folks.
Awesome. Well, it's that time of the show where we start wrapping things up, and we're going to start doing that by letting you guys know how you can find us. We're on Twitter at Throttled Show, Instagram Throttled Show, and Facebook. You can find us at Throttle Podcast. Don't forget, every Sunday at 7:30 we do broadcast live on YouTube, and we do make an announcement on Twitter and Facebook for the link for that live stream. You can find us on iTunes and all the other podcasting apps in case you're new to the show and you're trying to figure out how to listen to more of us. That's one way to do it. And we love hearing feedback from you guys. Either hit us up on social media or write us an email, feedback@throttledpodcast.com, or go to the website throttledpodcast.com. Click on the contact tab and we'll get that in the same mailbox. And we look forward to hearing from you. Everybody, that was a great show. Let's see, who would like to sign out first? Tom?
Sure. Hey, yeah, good conversation tonight. Brennan, glad you could join us here. So everybody just have a good week, and if you're able to, get out and ride, hopefully in the morning when it's not too hot where you're at.
All right, Chris, you're up, man.
All right, so awesome joining you guys tonight. Thank you for everyone who's watching and tuned in and who will be listening to this. Yeah, definitely stay cool, get out there and ride, stay safe, enjoy it, and watch some MotoGP and Moto America.
And Brendan, why don't you sign off and remind us where we can find you?
All right, thanks guys for having me on the show. I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. You can find me at Dead Redwood. That's going to be the same for Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. And Twitter, actually. So hit me up, check out the channel. And again, guys, appreciate you having me on the show. Had a lot of fun.
Mr. Lanes.
Well, it's been great, guys. I've really, enjoyed the show as usual. Brendan, welcome, and I'll be following you on Dead Redwood. So, and maybe we can get together for some rides. We're next door neighbors. And in the meantime, make sure that you ride your own ride and ride safe.
All right, Brendan, if you get together with Larry and he's doing his parking lot stuff, I want you to video it. And if you don't post it, at least send it to me, because I've been dying to see his warm up that he's been doing, and he won't share with anybody. And just want to, encourage him. But he's just like, no, I'm good. I'm good.
This is top secret stuff.
Yeah, I'm telling you. I mean, I got 2 people now that might have footage that I'm trying to acquire. But anyway, in all seriousness, I appreciate everybody being here. Brennan, all you guys, thanks so much for being here tonight. It was a great show. Had a lot of fun. Everybody in the live stream, as always, fantastic, and appreciated the chat, the course corrections, and just the side conversations you were having were very entertaining and fun to watch. So we really appreciate you all.
Too.
And very informative. But with that, I want to sign out. Don't forget, you can watch us every Sunday. I want to reiterate that. And if you get out there and ride safe. We'll see you all next week. All right, guys. Hey, thanks everybody in the live stream. You guys are awesome. As I just said, looking forward to next week, and be careful, be safe, get to riding, and go visit Dead Redwood on YouTube. We'll see you all later. Bye, guys.